All right, this one is about Suge Knight being in a special needs yard. He spoke on that in Collect Call with Suge Knight. You know, let me get into this joint because I'm ready to rock and roll, man. All right. All right. This is about Suge Knight being a special needs yard. This Unique Mecca audio, man. Let me break that down so y'all understand what that is. Cause they got special needs yard in the feds, the state. They didn't have them in the state before. They didn't even have them in the feds before. Now, this is why they created special needs yard so you could understand. We're gonna take this all the way back to Tupac Shakur, when he was in Denmark. Being that they didn't have a special needs yard, they put him in the shoe and he had to do his time in the shoe. Now, because they felt like being he was a high-profile prisoner, they couldn't put him around other prisoners because he might be extorted, things like that, and they'll prey on him. Tupac fought like heck to get out of there, but they wouldn't let him out of there. Now, they created these special needs, y'all. How they create these special needs, y'all, so y'all understand this. They create these special needs, y'all, when they started having more rat bastards coming in the system. So as they brought the rat bastards in, they needed somewhere to put them, and the numbers started getting bigger, so they saw they had enough to fill up a jail. So if a jail got out of control and a big riot, big fight, a lot of drugs in there, a lot of corrupt correction officers in there, whatever it is, the administration move in and they grab the gangbangers that's involved in the fighting, or they grab the dudes that's involved in the drugs. That's why I'm going to ride right now. See, I ride over here, Unique Mecca Audio. When I was in Allenwood, when I was in Allenwood, USP, I was trying to get to a spot in California, I got peoples out in Cali, called Terminal Island. Terminal Island's supposed to be a nice joint. Y'all from out Cali know. They say when you sit in the yard, you get to see the boats ride by, the women ride by, they pick their shirts up and they show their tatas. It's like when you're in prison a decade, 2 decades, and you haven't seen tatas, and you can sit in the yard and see a nice jet ski with a beautiful woman with a tan, or a beautiful chocolate woman ride by on a jet ski, and they pull their joint up and they show you their tatas. So, I was trying to get to that. Call me perverted or what you want. But either way, take a gunshot. All right? So now, they wouldn't send me there because that was a medium, and they said that my classification, being that I'm just coming out of 80X Supermax, don't warrant that, so they sent me out to Lombard, California. That's where I met, a bunch of good official Bloods and Crips. And that's where I learned about Bloods and Crips, because when I was on the street, only thing we had to teach us was the movie colors. Laugh at me, but that's how long I've been locked up, since 1993, December 10th to, February 21st, 2023. So now, 2020, excuse me. So now, they create these yards to put these people in, right? Because they didn't have anywhere to put them, because it was 98% man-on-man time, and the few rats that was there, they sent them to the mediums, That's why they wouldn't send me to a medium, because they said if I got around the mediums, being the way I was carrying on in the pen, that I'd be influential to stop them from being rat bastards, Or I might put the better hand in them. So they wouldn't send me to that joint. So what they did is they took a joint. Let me give you an example. I'm going to tell you about Coleman. I like to insert myself in it so you can see that I've been through hell for 26 years. When they had a big riot, with the Serenos and the Paisans. I spoke about it on my channel. Go back and look at the previous videos. They had a big fight over there in the yard, and, I think 2 people died, and they airlifted a few people, things like that. So the administration said, nah, this joint is out of control. Let's turn it into what they called in the feds, because they don't want to call it, a rat yard. So they give it, that's like a garbage man wanting to be called a sanitation engineer. So instead of calling it a rat joint, they called it a special needs yard. Special needs is for guys that's like, see, he cipher, monkey cipher. You know what I mean? That mean the people that play with kids, you know what I mean? And they can't go on a regular compound. It might be somebody that, did something with a woman, took the box, you know what I mean? Or it might just be a rat, or it might just be, I didn't hit the gunshot. Rat bastard. You know what I mean? Or it might just be, somebody that dropped their flag. Now, when you drop your flag, the way the feds work is they debrief you, because the feds, they thrive on information, because that's how they get to keep things going. So they would send the people there, but mind you, remember, this was a regular yard. This was a regular yard that they had, and from this being a regular yard, what they do is, they still had gangsters there, but they moved out the Serenos and the Pisons, and they got rid of, the guys that they didn't like, that was either into writing grievance or, was just, against the police, So when they moved them out, they moved out about half the prison, and they kept the other half. The other half was old timers that was trying to do their time, or people that didn't have, incident report in a number of years, So that's how regular, convicts wound up like on these special needs yard. So being that they were supposed to be putting me in to go to a medium to a FCI, they tricked me and told me they would put me into a FCI, but they sent me out, to Coleman, this special needs yard. So now, when I get to the special needs yard, we got good brothers on the compound, from New York, D.C., Philly, California, Chicago. You know what I mean? They had Louisiana dudes there when they had the flood in Louisiana. I'm giving you all the history right now. When they had the flood in Louisiana, they had them there. When they came, they were just buck wilding, so they got them out, made more space for people. And then they gradually started bringing in people that dropped their flags. You know what I mean? And, then they started bringing in high-profile rats, you know what I mean? And they brought in, police officers that couldn't survive on a regular yard and put them there. And being that the half the compound that they left on the yard was old timers, that was just trying to do their bid, you know what I mean, and didn't want any problems. Being that they the ones that was, left on the yard, they just stayed away from the police officers, the rats, the see he cipher, monkey ciphers, and you know what I mean, and everybody else, and just did their bid and just ignored them. Like, you stay over there, we stay over here. Because in a yard like this, if you do something to them, if you even look at them funny, if they drop a note on you, anything, they transfer you. So being that they were supposed to send me to a FCI, and, my points was low enough for lower security, they still didn't want to send me to a FCI, which is a medium security, stands for Federal Correctional Institute. Instead of sending me to a FCI, they sent me here to this special needs yard. So when I get there, I meet good brothers. You know what I mean? I met a lot of good brothers, And then, I witnessed a lot of piece of crap, And that's how that worked. But now the gangbangers that was there, so you understand, is the ones that was debriefed by, the feds, as far as how the gang started, how they recruited you, how the codes go, what's the rules, what's the protocol. And they debrief them on everything before they put them on the yard. But once they get on the yard, now they get comfortable and they start acting like they're still active gangbangers, but they know they can't go to a regular yard. You understand what I'm saying? They know they can't go to a regular yard. So, they act up, they threaten to send them back to the penitentiary amongst, the wolves, the same wolves that they couldn't survive around, But I like the joint because, one of the homies that was there had a C cipher, power, you know what I mean? That was bringing like 10 cartons of cigarette in, you know what I mean? And wine, whatever we needed, because that's what it is. So I'm like, I'm cool. I could get some money. You know what I mean? I could stay out the way. And hopefully in 18 months they'll send me on my way to a medium. That was the plan. So Suge Knight now, because I'm riding. Suge Knight now was sent to one of these special needs yard. So when he got there, he didn't want to go to the compound, so he refused to go because the administration said, 'cause the administration send you where they want to send you, and that's it. You don't have a choice. We like slaves on a plantation block, auction block. Wherever they choose to send you, they send you, and that's it. So when Suge got there, he refused to go to the compound, so he saw they wasn't playing, so they kept him in the shoe. So he realized, that, he got to be locked down 23 hours a day, by his choice for not wanting to go out there. You know what I mean? He had no hot pot, commissary was limited. You understand what I'm saying? And, didn't get no rec time, didn't get no phone time. You know what I mean? And it was just a mess, So instead of him keeping himself in PC, meaning the shoe, that's the special housing unit, he said, forget it. He went back on the compound. So being that, and only reason Suge got sent there is because he's a high notoriety inmate, and they're not going to send him anywhere but to another joint like that. So he knew it, so he went out there and did what he had to do. But obviously somebody, I ain't going to say no names because, I don't really know history behind that, but I'm just going off of what he spoke on with Collect Call with Suge Knight, So they sent him there. He even speaked on the person that put him out there, had a homie there that got airlifted. Because even in those special needs yard, they pushing their knife and they carrying on and they doing what they got to do. So that's why I say don't go to prison, young, and it's not worth it. There's no way they could protect you to send you to protect you to keep you safe, especially if you got skeletons in your closet. Let's get that straight. So youngins, don't go to prison. That's what I'm promoting on this channel. But if you do decide to stay into the street or enter into the street, know that there's rules and there's principles and codes to it. And that's what I'm teaching you. So hopefully you make the choice not to get involved. But instead now, somebody went up on social media and try and air Suge out. You was in a special needs yard, this and that. It don't matter what yard you in, as long as you still hold on to your morals and principles, because that's what make you a man. Because at the end of the day, you're still in jail. You still get locked down every night at whatever time, and they still open the door the next day at the same time, and they still give you 3 meals a day, so you're still in prison. But as long as you don't have no bull crap on your jacket, you know what I mean? You do your bid, and you mind your business, and you try and get home. That's how I made it home. Like Suge said, it's harder to do time on these special needs yard because they always got something over your head where they threaten you that if you do something to these he cipher monkey ciphers, you know what I mean? We're gonna send you back to ADX because you came out of ADX, da 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 da. So, once they start doing all that, you just fall back and you do your time, because at this time I'm in my 40s, going on 50. I'm in my late 40s, and I'm like, man, let me just relax and go to the law library and try and get out of jail. And this yard don't get locked down as much as a regular yard, where regular law yards, like, you're in a regular yard, and imagine you got a deadline to file in court, and then somebody gets stabbed, and then they lock you down. And now you can't get to the court to do your paperwork, to file your papers. That's what happens in a regular yard. But in the other yards here, they don't get locked down as much. But when they do get locked down, they lock them down for a minute too, But prison is prison, so you understand. But what I notice is that, and that's why, I took this up, as far as speaking on that Collect Call with Suge Knight joint. I took that up because there's so many people going at him, saying things they know they wouldn't even say in his face, So, I equate those to trolls. flip-flop wearing in public, rats. Stop it, man. That man was in his time, was in, in prison doing his time. You didn't hear nothing from Suge coming out to prison, and everybody on the street was trying to make themselves look good. Oh, he wouldn't have did that to me. Oh, you know what I mean? He pushed up on me 4 times. You heard what he said. I'm gonna speak on that too. Acorn. You know what I mean? He did it. My homies pushed up on him, and my homie knocked him out. My homie did this, and then you got Bob James talking about, yo, tell him how you did this, and tell him how you did that. And this man wasn't bothering nobody. All he did, so y'all understand, man, how this works. People try and talk crap about the next person to bring them down so that they could feel like they above that person. So now everybody's talking about how they a gangster. They knew it was none of that going on. Should rang all that joint. And I seen it from the prison because I was getting the Source magazine, the Vibe magazine. You know what I mean? We was getting the news, the TMZ. We was getting the Dateline. We got everything else that showed that this man was a gangster and he took over the industry and he looked out for the people that the industry was robbing, and that's why the industry didn't like him, because he woke them up. I could say this. I statements again. Like I said, I learned that in the prison psychology class. You know what I mean? I don't believe that all these rappers that's getting signed to major labels and then getting killed while the labels own their masters would be going on if Suge Knight was out here. I don't believe that. If y'all believe it, you put it in the comments. But Suge Knight kept his foot on their neck to make sure they dealt with everybody official the way they were supposed to deal with them. You know what I mean? And gave them their masters. Like he said, when he told dudes about, man, the label keeping your master. They're like, man, I ain't no slave. He said it himself. They didn't even know what a masters was. When he tried to wake them up, the label went behind them and let them know, you know what I mean? Man, don't listen to what he's saying, you know what I mean? He's the worst thing. He's going to be blackballed, he this and that. But he did so good that he ran the wealth, the value of Death Row Records up to over 300 million. And then everybody wanted props for when him and Tupac built along with Dr. Dre. Let's not forget Dr. Dre. Round of applause to Dr. Dre. I like Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? You see how Dr. Dre just stay out the way? Relax, y'all, relax. You see how Dr. Dre just stay out the way? That's what those special needs are for. When you just want to stay out the way and do your time. You don't even talk to people in those type of yards. So that's why I know how Suge is bidding, and I'm trying to give you all a visual so you understand what's going on. None of that is worth it. That's why they sent Casanova. You know what I mean? That's why they sent him to a special needs yard in Arizona. Google him and look him up. That's where they're going to send Tory Lanez. That's what they do. They send high-profile people to these places, and if you're an inmate that been chilling, doing your time, ain't been no problem, and they know you ain't looking for no problems, then they send you there too just to fill up the bed space, even though you're not one of them. So they know Suge Knight is not a problem, but he's a high-profile prisoner, so all the special needs y'all wanted to get him on the yard. You know what I mean? And then he gets on the yard, and then now you get people, poking at the bear, and now the bear has spoken. And then everybody making these reaction videos talking about how tough they are and what they would do to him if he was here, and none of you did nothing when he was here. So keep it 100. Play your position. Just like me. I'm not on here talking about I'm a killer, I did this and that, dude. I like to make money, have fun, and deal with a lot of women. That was me. I stay in my lane, I ain't ducking nothing. If something happened, I handle it, but I'm not going out looking for nothing. I'm not going out getting in nobody's way, but if somebody get in my way, then I do what I have to do to handle it, but that's not me, But then you got, then you got gangsters like, Lou Sims, Farris, you know what I mean? That, hold it down, and do what they got to do, and everybody just stay in their lane. And we respect each other for who we are because we show who we are and lay our cards on the table at all times. So I'm not going to run around the prison talking I'm this big killer, I'm this big this, I'm this big that, because then, The real big killers and all that is going to try you. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to get into nothing. I'm trying to do my time, get to the law library and fight to get this life with no chance of parole plus 20 years off me. And it worked because I'm out here now. And, you know, I want to give a big round of applause to, you know, both, you know, Lou Sims and Farris, because they both helped me down at different times, you know, in the prisons. And I was never in the same prison with them because a kite go a long way. We know who's getting transferred where, what's going on, what. So if you got an issue like I had an issue and somebody got away from me, I contacted Lou and, you know, let him know if he come there, you already know. And, you know, Lou does what he has to do. You know, the same thing as Farris. Farris good dude. Dude try to put a bad bone on my name. You know, try to say that I owed him some money or something like that, not bad bone. But try to say I owed him some money. You already know I'm not going for no extortion. So, you know, Farris stood up and let him know straight up, nah, my man, you know, Unique ain't into that. You know what I mean? Nah. Unique got money, he ain't gonna owe nobody nothing. He wasn't like that on the street, and we know he ain't like that in the prison. And that's how we look out for each other, because we play our position and we know who we are. And that's why I say, if you a rat bastard, just identify yourself. I just identified myself. And all I ask is for you to do the same. Identify yourself, you know? And that's it. It's not that hard. Now, Suge, you know, don't let them rattle your cage and get under your skin. I'm out here. I'm going to explain how this code and principle that you standing by go. Because we all know that if Suge was to say right now, testify who shot me in the head and shot Tupac and solved the Tupac murder, he'll be out of jail. But instead, he chose to sit there for 28 years to serve his sentence, the same as I chose to sit in prison, you know what I mean, for 26 years before they released me. To serve my time. Without telling on nobody, bringing nobody else in, because I'm not going to bring my comrades in. That's why I don't like rat bastards. You know what I mean? Just so you understand. Make sure, you know, you cop the book of Row in Harlem. It got 4.5 stars on Amazon, you know, or you can cop it from my website at Unique Mecca. Not my bad. I always say that, you know, at aurorainharlem.com. That's the book on the screen. That's the name of the book, and that's the website, aurorainharlem.com. Follow me on Instagram, and there's my Cash App. Make sure when you hit the logo, it says that it was created in 2020, because that's my account, not the account that was created in 2023. Now, I say all that because I just wanted to let it be known that, you know, they trying to even slander Suge, saying where he's doing his time at when he's still locked in at the same time every night as everybody else. He still come out the same time everybody else. He still get the 3 rotten meals a day, and he still buy the same crap off of commissary. So what is the point of saying that he's in a special needs yard when the man doing his time, and he'll be out here and you'll get a chance to say what you got to say? He even put a contact information in the podcast that he did, so if anyone have an issue with him, they could just holler at him. So why didn't they just do that or shut the F up? I don't get it. But then again, I would never understand the mind of a rat bastard or a flip-flop wearing in public that can't defend himself, much less anyone else wearing flip-flops out in public. The weather is breaking, you know? Look how many people is going to be wearing flip-flops in 20 degrees while it's cold outside. Like, where do you get this mentality from? You have that much faith in the police that nothing is going to happen? The police don't even have that much faith in the police. When you see a cop, other than Reggie White, you know what I mean? Because, you know, he an old crooked cop. When you see a cop wearing flip-flops while he on duty, you know what I mean? Or even while he's out there moving around, you know? Then you know something is wrong. They don't even wear flip-flops. But they encourage you to wear flip-flops. Stop the crap, get out the game, man. It ain't worth it, you know, all right?
Cheers, cheers, toast the crime, toast the crime, the crime, the crime, the crime.
Fresh out the can of 26, yeah. He back on the strip, getting back in the mix. Yeah. What he mentions a gift. You stand up 10 toes down, and I suggest you pay attention to this. Real. Take a little gully posse and put it in Harlem. He cut from the bottom, came up from the bottom. Drop the book, you should go and get it. The Instagram page and the YouTube, you could go and visit. Then you could consider yourself LinkedIn. Sit front row and get Jews from a kingpin. How he went through it, so you ain't gotta go do it. To not pay attention would be stupid. Talking about a man that probably put your grandfather on. Probably the reason that him and your grams got along. A man that generated millions on the block, did his time, never squilling to the cops, Mecca audio. Get it live like 2 G's in the 90s. Drop top beamer so shiny. I let shorty go, she was whining. Treat her like my past, she behind me. Spin a couple bands on the Dapper Dan. You be back again, getting green like a Packers fan. No cap, it's a roaring uptown. They be whoring uptown, Dominican bust downs. Now we on the positive, we got a lot to give. Now he trying to stop the kids from being inoperative. So take heed, homie, lend an ear. He started in uptown, he gon' finish dead. But now it ain't about selling drugs, buying cars. It's about buying property to make the community ours. So we can give back to the youth them. Cause they the truth them. And bless up to all the root men.